Rivian's numbers are in, guys. They don't look good. They've lost 744 million US dollars. I don't know how long this can go on for. Rivian's cars, as you know, I love them. My dad loves them. There's a lot of Australians who would love to own a Rivian pickup truck, but Rivian did say they're going to sell vehicles to Australia, and that is meant to. It's even on their website. It's meant to be an option, but at this point in time, I don't think the company's going to be around long enough for that to actually eventuate. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. And if you'd like to become a YouTube member, you get access to some videos that are not on the main channel. I'll put a link in the description. Click on that and become a member. Rivian reported a fourth quarter net loss of 744 million US dollars on flat sales, but delivered on its forecast for a modest gross profit. Now, obviously, saying they made a profit when actually they made a net loss of $744 million, it's, some people might say, well, look, they made a profit, but actually overall, they made a loss. How does that make sense? I mean, how can you make a loss of $744 million and still make a profit? Well, it's because if you include R&D and other expenses, then it works out that, that profit was, it evaporated essentially. In the year earlier period, Rivian reported a significantly larger net loss of 1.5 billion. So some analysts are saying, hey, great result. I mean, in that same period, the previous year, Rivian lost 1.5 billion. This time it's only 744 billion. Fast forward 10 years and they might be losing only $20 million possible. But you've got to stay alive for long enough for that to happen. And Rivian's just not selling enough vehicles. Rivian said it was expected to sell fewer vehicles this year compared with last year. And that's the big issue here. And it's not like they don't have some good vehicles. The R1T and the R1S, great cars. They are. They're great cars. But for some reason, I don't know what reason that is, Americans just aren't buying them. Not in large numbers anyway. Despite the red ink, the electric vehicle manufacturer reported a positive gross profit of $170 million, partly through regulatory credits. That's the key here. Selling regulatory credits to other automakers to help them meet emission standards. So I'm not sure how much they made from that, but it would be a significant percentage of that profit. Tesla was the same for the first few years of Tesla's beginnings. But I mean, realistically, it wasn't enough to help Tesla from nearly going bankrupt. The profit is a significant improvement from the company's gross loss of $606 million in the fourth quarter of 2023. In after-hours trading, Rivian's stock price rose by a pretty surprising 4%. For 2025, Rivian forecasts annual deliveries of between 46,000 and 51,000 vehicles, lower than Wall Street's expectations of 55,500, according to 15 analysts polled by Visible Alpha. Last year, it delivered 51,570 units. Rivian is saying, you know what, we might deliver 5,000 vehicles less this year than last year. That is a big issue, guys, because Rivian's not expanding anywhere out of the United States. I mean, they're not going global. They do have some new vehicles coming, the R12, of course, the R13, and they're important cars, but the volume is just so small here. I mean, even some of the tiniest automakers in China that you've never heard of are selling more cars than that. Rivian also expects high costs from President Donald Trump's plans to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Really, we don't probably realize that a lot of the stuff going into Rivian's cars comes from Mexico, some of course as well from China. We have a supply chain that does have footprints in both Mexico and Canada, and so large tariffs being applied will translate to higher costs for us, said the CEO. There's such high levels of uncertainty that will ultimately impact consumer behavior and top-line revenue, he said. Rivian's fourth quarter revenue rose 32% compared with a year earlier to $1.7 billion. Revenue's rising, part of that regulatory credits, but at the same time, they're still making big losses. The company has been burning through billions of dollars per year since launching its first vehicle in late 2021 after working on development on that vehicle for 8 years. For 2024, it reported a net loss of $4.7 billion. Rivian implemented an extensive cost-cutting program last year, but it also suffered from a major parts shortage that affected electric motor production. That part shortage, Rivian claims, led to less sales last year. Now, I'm not really sure that's true. And in fact, I did a video debunking that idea. But anyhow, Wall Street analysts had been watching closely to see whether the company could achieve positive gross profit, considered a huge milestone in the road to future net profit, assuming they're, around long enough for that to happen. Fourth quarter deliveries rose only 1.5% to 14,183 vehicles, the automaker reported. Rivian makes the R1T pickup, the R1S crossover, but also they make electric vans for Amazon. A parts shortage hurt Rivian, they say, or Rivian claims, from October to December, causing production to fall 27% to 12,727 vehicles. But production falling 27%, it wasn't just because of a parts shortage. It was also because there wasn't enough demand for them to make more vehicles. The Irvine, California automaker's US registrations grew modestly for the full year compared with 2023. Rivian's 2024 registrations rose 4%, or 4.5% to be exact, led by an 11% increase for the R1S, S&P Global Mobility said. Registrations for its EDV vans rose 6.3% last year, but fell 13% for the R1T. Rivian doesn't report sales by model, so registration data serves as a proxy. Rivian is building a new assembly line, though, in Normal, Illinois. This is one that Elon Musk said they shouldn't build. He believed that basically the company needs to cut costs. It's losing too much money. It needs to streamline manufacturing and really try and get everything done in one location. That was his recommendation. But obviously Rivian ignored that, which is fine. That's their decision. However, that factory, that's where they'll build a mid-size crossover called the R2, with a starting price of around $45,000. So it's not cheap. It's still a similar price to a Tesla Model Y, and it's a little smaller than a Model Y. It's expected to launch next year and help the company scale production and reduce costs. Now, even though it is smaller than a Model Y, people absolutely love it. I mean, people are looking at that and you're just going, the R2 is sensational. Want that for my next car. The styling is fantastic. The styling of Rivian's current vehicles, I think it's really good. But the R2, people were just all over it. The concept car comes out, so much hype for that car, more than I've seen from any car except the Cybertruck recently. So the R2 would be a huge success. But I think really what Rivian need to do is maybe build a manufacturing base in China instead of the United States. Now, I know that's got to be controversial, but it's going to be costing Rivian probably double the cost to manufacture these vehicles in the US versus China. And that would give them access to a much bigger market. The bigger R1S starts at $77,700 with shipping, and the R1T starts at $71,700 with shipping. That's the cheapest versions of those vehicles. So that's why really the sales, I think, are not that high, just because the starting price is a bit beyond what a lot of people can actually afford. Rivian is building a second factory near Atlanta for additional R2 capacity and for another crossover, the R3. So they're going to have really 4 different vehicles, the R1T, the R1S, the R2, and the R3. Scaringe has said the R3 will have a lower sticker price than the R2. It'll be a smaller version of the R2. That's what it sounds like to me. This Georgia factory will open in 2028. Separately, Rivian finalized a $5.8 billion joint venture agreement with the Volkswagen Group late last year, and that may help save the company. That said, the Volkswagen Group is in a lot of trouble themselves, so it could be just, 2 ships sinking together. Rivian's electrical architecture and software will be integrated into vehicles from Volkswagen brands. I think the Scout brand will use it, I believe, from what I'm hearing. That gives Rivian a bit of a lifeline. It gives them some extra cash to inject into the company. But will that mean that they're going to be around in 10 years' time from now? If someone said to me, you know what, Sam, what's your prediction? Will they be here in 10 years? I'd say no. I don't think so. Now, sadly, I wish I could say yes. I really like Rivian. The CEO is fantastic. He's a great CEO. Company makes really nice products. And I really hope that I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. What are your thoughts? Let me know what you think in the comments.